everyone. I so appreciate everybody jumping on tonight. I have been asked the question that, Darren, why do we do these every other week product related calls? And my purpose is this, is that we want to demonstrate and show everyone the power of TM3 United products. We're apologize for having the best. We want to be bold. We want to go out and just strictly say, you know what, don't trust us, test us, in these products. We want people to know. And tonight, it is my special honor to introduce a gentleman who has spent over half of his life studying and working with silver. Much of that time, he saw silver to be as a mineral to be mined in the earth. And then one day, his father introduced him to the silver therapeutic properties, and it changed his life and his words. And since that time, he's dedicated, it says thousands, but I got to believe it's tens of thousands of hours studying the health benefits of silver and how they can be used for the benefit of the human body. And I personally have been blessed with these products, not just myself, but immediate family, et cetera, that we're going to talk about. But it's my pleasure to introduce to everyone tonight Dr. Keith Moeller. And Dr. Keith, if you'll just do a little bit of introduction of the products and yourself, and let's share what we have with those people who are looking at TM3 United and asking, what are these products for?
Well, what we're looking for is life-changing products that are first line of defense, products that you can have in your house at any time that you have a problem, whether it's a small one or whether it's a big problem. The first thing, so TM3 is like the big fat Greek wedding family, right? The difference is we don't use Windex, we use silver. And there are a lot of reasons why we do that. And I have to tell you, we'll talk about products, but I had one fun thing for you first. So today, for the fun of it, I went to Google and I said, hey, Google, tell me about the history of the medical use of silver, right? And you guys should Google that for the fun of it. History of the medical use of silver. And up came an article, and the article was an article that's on the US government website. So this is a National Institute of Health. This is our government's health website. And it has an article on the history of the medicinal use of silver. And it wasn't very long, but it says that silver has been used extensively throughout recorded history. It said that it had been used for 6 millennia, 6,000 years, right? And it says, results, silver has been used for 6 millennia to prevent microbial infections, has been effective against all organisms tested, has been used to treat numerous infections and non-infectious conditions, sometimes with striking success. I thought, amen. I just, end right there. But what we've done is we have harnessed silver. And we've not only done that, we've made a form of nano-silver that is really amazing. And it isn't like we just made it and put it out. The products that you and I share with people have tens of millions of dollars and decades of science behind it. I've helped write tons of peer-reviewed publications on some of the nastiest bugs like MRSA and VRE, some bugs that kill literally tens of thousands of people a year. You get some little kid, he gets a MRSA, methicillin-resistant staph infection on a playground, he can be dead like 3 days later because he got a scratch, right? Or a cut. The fact is that we all need a first line of defense that we can use. So you have a gel product, right? The gel is approved for your people who are in Canada It's approved as a full antimicrobial gel, makes direct claims on healing cuts, burns, and wounds, treating acne and eczema. And in the US, we sell it as a cosmetic to this point. We're still after a bunch of approvals. But at this point, it's a cosmetic. And we say that it helps promote natural healing, which is much the same. But the answer is it does it. It does it quickly. It does it really well. My neighbor across the street, his son is, I think, a junior in high school. And his club team just won the national championship for soccer. And he came back from that tournament in Georgia, and he had a huge burn, a turf burn that went all down the side of his leg, probably 8 inches long, 2-3 inches wide, and massive. And he said it was killing him. So he used the gel on there, just started gelling it up, no pain, no inflammation, and he went on. He's right now. It was like 7 or 8 days ago. He's now playing in Hawaii. He has another big tournament for some other group that he works or plays with. And this is really talented, a national, national player, one that plays on a national level. And so he's sought after by a lot of teams, but all he did was gel it up and go, and he's good. No weeping, no pain. It didn't scab all up. He didn't have to worry about it tightening up on him. It just healed it up. So what we're talking about is something that cools, it soothes, it reduces inflammation. It can help eliminate the stinging. It's fast absorbing. It's moisture donating. It's not greasy. It pulls into your skin in like 2 minutes, makes your skin intensely soft. But if you get a sunburn, you just gel up. If you get a cut, trimming your bushes, scrape, you just gel up and you don't worry about it. It just heals up, and it heals up in about half the normal time. Helps promote natural healing, which it does. If you're in Canada, it makes direct antimicrobial claims and, kills all those bugs and heals cuts, burns, and wounds. But either way, we're talking about the same general idea. First line defense, you can have in your house at any moment that can literally save your life.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you just mentioned something, Dr. Keith, that to me, I understand how strict Canada is on everything. And yet when it comes to silver, they seem to be a little bit more liberal even than here with what claims and other statements you can make, because they have proven that these products work.
They actually are worse than here. So
Well,
Health Canada is worse than the FDA. But my filings up there, the filings that we made up there to get the approvals we have, I think the last one I made had 29 addendums. So you filed all the paperwork, and then I had 29 additional safety and effectivity reports, antimicrobial reports that had to go with that. You have to answer all their questions on the first one, or they just go, chick, and they send it back and they say, nope, try again. But the fact is that we have the data that allows us to be able to get approvals that nobody else can get. We have a form of silver that's more effective than any other form, and we have data on that. If anybody wants to match it up, look at the data. Here's peer-reviewed published studies on this, lots of them, from major institutions. I have helped write a bunch of those, but the data is all there. Scientific tier 1 data with like schools, med schools, like Texas Tech School of Medicine. I think we have 4 or 5 different reports on biofilms, on MRSA, on some of the nastiest drug-resistant bacteria. All that data is published, public data. So if somebody wants it, they just say, hey, can I have the data? And I know your guy, Steve, has been putting together that info site where if they need a little data, they can find it. They just have to request it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about, if you don't mind, our product defense. Which comes along with this amazing mister that, we call the shield. I've got the pink one and the white one here. And Dr. Keith, what's fascinating to me is that, again, we make no claims, we don't diagnose, we don't prescribe. But I do know this, for me, when I'm having allergies and or just trouble breathing with the pollutions and stuff out there, if I take this with me and continually breathe through this, it helps me personally. And I have recommended this to several people just in the last week, and they all come back with the same answer. It simply works.
For sure. And I mean, let's look at a little hard data again. That liquid is a Nano-Silver liquid, and it is the best product that's out there. And if you want data, it's easy enough to get. But you and I talked about the fact that there's a published peer-reviewed study that doesn't make a claim. That's an FDA claim. It's not against FDA rules to use a product as a nasal rinse, right? And that's what you have in that mister is a nasal rinse. You use it, you wash out your sinuses. So 231 frontline docs in 3 different countries, did a study where they used Nano-Silver as a nasal rinse and a gargle. That was all. Didn't say they treated anything, just nasal rinse and a gargle. And these were doctors who were treating COVID patients in the hospitals. And they were split into 2 groups. So 117 didn't use it. 114 did. The 117 had a 28% chance of getting COVID. 28% chance. The doctors who just used it as a nasal rinse and gargle, which are not FDA claims, had a 1.8% chance of getting it. So it wasn't perfect, but it was 15 times less. So would I rather have a wash out my sinuses and have a 1.8% chance of catching one of those nasty viruses? Or would I rather not wash out my sinus? Again, we're talking about a first line defense. Just wash it out, rinse it. Is it perfect? No. Is it incredibly good? 15 times less for frontline docs. It's huge. I mean, that's what we call first line defense. You don't have to worry about treating it after you get it because you eliminate it up front.
Yeah, the best kind of defense. Well, I know we have a gentleman on here, Steve Lenningham, and I know right now he's muted, but Steve, if you could unmute and, speaking of helping your health, I know you had an experience, and you mind sharing a little bit about what results you encountered?
Sure, Darren. And first of all, let me thank you for having me on the call tonight. Dr. Keith and I go back about a decade, and we've become very good friends. But I think I have to ask you which of my many, many, many experiences, because I could share with you about being alive today. Because when I had COVID,
that's kind of the one I thought you could mention, just to show how it could help. And everyone, we don't make claims, we don't prescribe, diagnose, but this is his personal experience. Steve.
Yeah, my personal experience was in that March of 2020, that first big wave. I got the first COVID, and it was intense. The body aches, pains. But my main thing is I have compromised lungs from my parents being chain smokers when I was a little boy. So when it hit my lungs, it hit me bad. And so I got to the point to where I was literally panting, trying to stay breathing. And my wife is a medical professional, so they basically said if she came around me, she couldn't work. And so I didn't see her for like 3 weeks. But anyway, bottom line is one day I called Keith and I said, Keith, I'm dying. And he said, well, you dummy, why don't you use the product? And I said, well, I don't have a nebulizer. So he left some out on his front porch because of the rules and regulations they had. And my son ran over and got one of those nebulizers, or excuse me, the misters, and some of the defense liquid. And the second I started breathing it in, man, I felt my lungs just start releasing. What I call the barbed wire wrapped around my lungs started releasing. And within 15 minutes, I was breathing. And I called him up and was actually able to talk to Keith at that time. And that's just one of probably 10 different things that over the years that I've had great experience with. So yeah, I swear by and I make the statement, I live by the silver.
Well, and the good news is you had access to it when you needed it. So
Correct.
I have like I have like 20 cases at my house because if there's a problem, everybody's going to show up at my house, right? So I have like 20 cases that are there just in case. But the point is, if you have a problem, you don't need to wait the 3 weeks. You can use it up front. And it's kind of like I told Steve. I said, Steve, you know, I love you, but you could have done this a lot easier, a lot earlier. Just have some at your house, pull it out and say, you know, I'm having a problem. I better try this as a first line of defense. And Steve called me back and said, I can breathe. And I said, congratulations, you're going to survive. I guess we'll still be friends for a while. So, and we still are. But he keeps coming up with new uses that he tries it on because he has it at his house now, the gel and the silver. So he calls me, hey, I tried it for this. I tried it for that. And I say, you know what? You're starting to catch up.
Dr. Keith, you keep hitting on it, and I'm going to encourage everybody tonight to do this. Get some in your house, whether it's in your food storage, your car, or something, because there could come a time when you might not have access to certain medical things, but you will have access to this if you have it on hand. Everyone, you should have this around the house. That's one of the reasons we brought it on. And Dr. Keith, the next product really I'd like to kind of cover is the gel that we call the Protector, because there is a 1-2-3 punch, and this is definitely the 1-2 punch so far. But tell us a little bit about the gel.
The gel has no color, no smell, there's no alcohol. When you put it on your skin, it cools it. So let's say that Steve goes to the islands because his wife is on a busy trip. And let's say that Steve gets sunburned, right? Because he did. And Steve is roasted to a nice lobster orange, right? And the fact is that he had the gel right there, could gel up and be able to start the natural healing process and do that quickly. First thing you get is you feel an instantaneous cooling sensation. Second of all, it pulls into the skin, it makes it intensely soft. I mean, like baby butt soft. Third thing that happens is it gives you a layer of protection that can last on your hands for hours. If you cover it with like a bandage, it can last easily up to 3 days. So you have a layer of protection that helps protect your body, but its ability to naturally help cool, soothe, and heal is phenomenal. Usually if you get roasted and you put some on, you will usually see a huge difference by even the next morning. The case studies that we've been producing showed full recovery in like 3 days. But the important part is you have it on hand when you need it. When I was in Alaska, I had an account that I put up there in Alaska just so I could go up there fishing every other year and be able to write off my expenses, right? But she was talking about the fact the nurse that ran this facility, she used it to like put people's fingers back on when they cut them off because they were hundreds of miles from anywhere where they could get help. And she was a certified nurse and a nurse, I think, practitioner. So she would just gel them up and then she would take and sew the finger back on and then send them off to the hospital, right? But the amazing things that happen with that gel, it really is stunning. It's one of the products that you just have to have. And if you're in Canada, you know, the fact they approved it for treatment of like eczema and acne. I mean, how many people can and need that type of help, right? Just put it on your face, it makes it soft, it feels good, and you get that natural healing effect in the US. And in Canada, you can make direct claims on that. So depending where you're located, you can make direct claims. But even the fact that it helps promote natural healing in the US is a very, very big deal. Because, I mean, at my house, we use it probably every day. I have a whole slug of grandkids, and they're out playing in my backyard, right? Every Sunday. And there's always somebody comes in turfed on the cement or something, right? And they know, they just get out the gel and they gel up, and then they go. So the answer is gel up, go, don't worry about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dr. Keith, one of my favorite elements of this line and this product and the mystery, et cetera, is really related to my mother. I've shared this in the past, but I want others to know that, at her age, she started to suffer quite a bit from bladder infections and UTIs, and they really couldn't seem to find a solution that would help her. And that was one of the reasons I went on search, and then all of a sudden reconnected, and I just am amazed because in the time that she has been using this and using this and using this, she has not had one single bladder infection or UTI. And I just got to tell you, for me, it's a godsend. For her, my sister, my father, it's a godsend, so I didn't want to be remiss, because for women, this is just something very, very special.
It's true. I had an 82-year-old nurse who called me like 15 minutes ago. And she said, I really need some more of that because I have these issues. And there were some of the same issues you talked about. And she said, this is the only thing I've ever found that actually works. She said, I'm taking it to my gynecologist tomorrow. She said she was going to hit him up. I said, good, go get him. So we'll help reduce a lot of pain and suffering.
Absolutely. And then finally, one of the amazing products that we have too here, REJUV3NATE, the special serum. Can you share a little bit about this and the power?
So that serum goes onto your skin. It's got some very key ingredients. One, it has hyaluronic acid, which is like the fountain of youth. A lot of places you read about hyaluronic acid talks about it being the fountain of youth. You have hyaluronic acid in your skin naturally, but as you get older, you produce less and less of it. And that's why you start to get wrinkles and so forth. Hyaluronic acid is one of the top moisturizers that exists. And then with that, instead, what we did was we looked at it, and usually in the market, all the big boys, what they do is they tag you for one with hyaluronic acid. Then they tag you for another one if you want collagen peptides in it, right? Nano-collagen peptides, the building blocks of all your skin. And we said, look, we got to be family friendly. We got to be able to help all these women now. And with one instead. So what we did was we put 2% hyaluronic acid of two different weights, and it's really amazing to mix. Took us years to perfect it. And then we have 2% nano-collagen peptides. And the difference is when you put that on your skin, it really makes it intensely soft. In fact, I was talking to a doctor once, and I said, let me put just a little bit of this on your hand, because she said, I have a serum. I don't need a serum. I said, now I think you're going to want to try this. I said, if I put it on one of your hands and not the other, I said, within a couple of minutes, you'll be petting your own skin. And she said, son, she said, there's not a chance in hell that I will be petting my own skin. So I was talking to her about the technology on purpose, and I delayed her for like 5 or 6 minutes. And I looked down, and she was just going like this with her hands, right? And I didn't even say anything. I just looked down at her with her petting her skin, and she said, I hate your guts. I said, the point is that it makes your skin so intensely soft, but it's a natural healing agent. The products that are in there make it the ultimate serum for the face. Helps get rid of fine lines and wrinkles, and that's a big deal. But it will keep your skin moisturized, especially in the summer, the whole day. So you put it on in the morning, your skin feels intensely soft all day long. And you can literally put it on anywhere, your neck, other places, any place you'd like. But it takes like a drop or two. It doesn't take very much. So a bottle actually lasts a long time. But you put it on your face and you will know in a hurry. In fact, if you just drop a couple drops on your hand on one and not the other, wait 2 minutes and then feel it, you'll understand the difference because it literally is stunningly soft. In Canada, we've been using that product in bone grafts. And we have studies that are now out where we've used it in bone grafts because it is such a fast healer. We can add it into these bone grafts where it's approved for those types of uses, right? In Canada, it actually has those approved uses. But what they do is these dentists will pull a tooth, put it in the hole, and what usually takes 28 days to heal, we're healing about 95%, 3 days. Sorry, 5 days. 5 days, we're getting over 90% heal rate. The bone is reforming and fully formed into bone. It's still soft at that point, but it's fully formed in the bone. And it's all because of that product and adding all the building blocks in to not only treat the skin, but to help naturally heal the skin. And there's a big difference in there. We're not just trying to make your skin feel good. That's important, right? And it does that in a big way. What we're after is the ability to help heal the tissue, reduce the amount of scarring over time, and make you just feel good. I have a guy that called me and he said, "You got to see my mother-in-law." And I said, "What?" He said, "You got to see my mother-in-law." And I said, "She have horns? Where are you showing me a picture of your mother-in-law, right?" And he said, "No." He said, "She's been using that serum for like a month and her face just kind of glows." And he said, "She looks good." And she said that she now likes me and will continue to like me as long as I keep supplying her with that serum. I said, "I'm sure we could make that happen. Use it, we'll make more, right?" So it's a big deal and it's life-changing.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, a huge thank you to you too, because those that have been around a little while understand, and those that are new may not. But we used to sell this product for a whole lot more. And one day, Dr. Keith called us up, said, "You guys are moving a lot of this. We're able to lower costs." He passed it on, and so we've passed it on to everybody else. So for $50, this is a $250, $300, serum anywhere else, and to be able to offer it at that price. So a huge thank you, Dr. Keith, for also continuing to look out for us. But I have seen this twice, in my own life, because my wife loves this product. This is the one that she absolutely raves about. She's at that age, wants youthful looking skin, etc. And she's getting it, and has it. And so I'm really excited about that. And then also Colby actually had an accident on a motorcycle and burned his leg really, really quite severely. And we've just watched this transformation as we've been swatching the silver with the mister and then the gel and also the rejuvenate. And it's completely healing. And it's fun to see just how fast the largest organ in the body can heal when it's given the proper ingredients and proper products. So as always, Dr. Keith, you nail it every single time with this 1, 2, 3 punch. And just grateful to you for all that you're doing.
Good to be here. I have one more quick one for you. So I had a guy walk in my office, and the guy is a 70-year-old baseball fanatic, right? He was he actually won 2 World Series. So he has the rings from those World Series. And he came in and he's been using the serum for about 6 or 8 months. And he said, "I have a really funny story for you." And I said, "Okay, what's up?" He said, "Well, I've been using the serum on my face." I said, "Yeah." And I kind of like the fact that he's doing that, right? 70-year-old ex-pro baseball player. And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I was with one of my old buddies who played baseball with me." And he said, "I was riding in the car and the guy kept staring at me. And finally I turned to him and I said, 'What?' And he said his friend looked at him and said, guys aren't supposed to ask this, but what are you doing with your face?" He said, "You look so much better than you did." And he started to laugh. He said, "I've been using this serum stuff." And he told him about it. But I thought, we just turned into a guy thing, not just a woman thing, As guys, we really appreciate it when women look good. But the fact is that I think it's starting to spread across the board. And I think the guys are starting to go, I want to look good. And so they started using it. And this one was really funny because he said, we've been friends for a lot of years. And never once has he ever looked at me and said, what are you using on your face?
Well, there's obviously we want to share all the products, but sometimes you're right. When you're going to a reunion or something, it's kind of fun to keep this as a little secret about how good we're looking. So no question about it. Well, everyone, I hope that you've enjoyed tonight's conversation with Dr. Keith. As you can tell, everything that we do at TM3 United is to bring the best. We're so grateful. We're honored that Dr. Keith has allowed us to represent these products that are second to none. You will not find in this entire world anyone with more knowledge about silver and how these apply to the body than Dr. Keith. That's a fact. I've been around a long time in this industry. He is the most knowledgeable, the most giving individual, and it's just fun to have him part of TM3 United. So again, Dr. Keith, thank you for taking time away from your kids, your grandkids tonight and being on the Zoom.
It's always a pleasure. Darren, anytime. Have a great day.
So with that, everyone, I want to say thank you for keeping faith first, others second, and I am third. And if there's some questions that we've overlooked, I promise you we'll get them to Dr. Keith. We'll get the answers back to you so that you can have clarity. But just know we only have the best here at TM3, and that's why we boldly say don't trust us, test us, because we know we can live up to it. And with that, I'm going to say God bless. Have a great evening.